Hello dear students, आज solve कर रहा है ISI MSQE 2024 question number 5 I am about to solve, and this is a very interesting question. It's about an individual is living life in 2 periods. Very similar question came in the past year as well. As lifetime until these two functions UC1 and beta UC1. C1, C2 are the consumption of the individuals, and this is a subjective discount factor. The following condition are satisfied: u dash c is greater than 0, u double dash c is less than 0, and limit u dash c is equal to infinity, and c is this. So the individual earns an exogenously given income w greater than 0 in period 1, and his life and earns nothing in the second. So it follows that c1 is w minus s, c2 is 1 plus r into s. So show that beta into 1 plus r equal to 1, solve the value of c1 and c2 in terms of the exogenously given parameters. So a lot of things are given. The cost of the structure and the pattern, everything is clear. So directly jump into the solution here. So lifetime utility function is uc1 plus beta uc2. Okay. Budget constant will be then c1 plus c2 1 plus r equal to w. Okay. So since beta into 1 plus r equal to 1, we can rewrite this thing as uc1 plus u of w minus c1. So to maximize this utility function, we take the derivative with respect to c1 and set it equal to 0. So u dash c1 u dash w minus c1 equal to 0. Using the conditions and putting into the above problem, we know that u dash c is positive, u double dash c will be negative. So this implies that u dash c is a decreasing function. At the optimal point, c1 equal to w minus c1. That means c1 equal to c2 equal to w by 2. So therefore, when beta equal to 1 plus r, beta into 1 plus r equal to 1, the individual will choose to consume equal amounts in these two periods. So c1 equal to c2 equal to w by 2. Okay, so this is the first part done. Next, now remove the restriction that beta of this thing, and how would you do the savings. So to analyze the savings would be changing. So the optimization problem will now become, so maximization u of c1 beta u of c2 subject to c1 c2 1 plus r equal to w. So the first condition of this interior optimum is u dash c1 equal to beta 1 plus r u dash c2, given the assumptions that this is positive and first order or positive, second order negative. This condition implies that defines that the optimal values of c1 c2 must be a function of beta and r. This is for sure. So let's consider the effects of this increase in beta holding everything as constant. So if beta increases, for in this case, if beta increases, so the right hand side of the equation, that is beta 1 plus r u dash c2 also increases. So to restore the equality, u dash c1 part must increase as well, which requires c1 to fall. Okay, since c1 is w minus s, so a decrease in c1 implies an increase in this value s. So therefore, if beta increases while everything remains constant, then the individual will choose to save more in the first period and consume less as well in order to have more consumption in the second period, which is now valued more heavily due to the higher discount factor. So in summary, we can say that अगर beta बढ़ ही जाता है, so ceteris paribus would lead to an increase in savings. Next part में चलेंगे, part C. अब इसमें क्या है, continuing without restrictions that beta into 1 plus r equal to 1, show that savings s goes up as w increases, ceteris paribus, and further show that the s is less than the increase in w. Okay, so in this case C में so C1 C2 1 plus r, so C2 by 1 plus R equal to W. Rearrange करना पड़ेगा. So in that case C1 equal to W minus S. We have W minus S equal to W C2 by 1 plus R. So S equal to C2 by 1 plus R. ठीक है? So this equation shows that savings in the period 1 is equal to the present value of the consumption in period 2. So let's consider that the effect of increase in S on W on S. Okay. So now U dash C1 first order condition beta 1 plus R U dash C2. So given the assumption U dash C is positive and U double dash C negative, the W increase in W would lead to an increase in both in C1 and C2, but C2 will increase by smaller amount compared to C2. So delta C2 is less than delta C1. Okay. Why? Since S equal to C2 by 1 plus R. So this C2 increase implies S also increases. To show this increase in S is less than the increase in W, we consider the following. For example, means part C, part 2. So if W increases, for example, by W, del W. So individual will choose to increase C1 by the C1 will also increase by del W amount, that is there is no change in S. So C2 would remain unchanged. However, this would violate the first condition as U dash C1, this value would also decrease while beta plus 1 and plus R U dash C2 would remain the same. To restore the equation of the first condition, an individual must increase C2 as well. Okay, which requires enhancement of S. So however, U double dash C second order derivative तो अपना negative था, diminishing marginal utility है. So as a result of that, the increase in C2 will be smaller than the increase in C1. So therefore, the increase S is C2 1 plus R will be less than the increase in, this will be an increase in W. Okay. So in summary, when W increases in period 1, ceteris paribus, S will increase, but this increase will be less than the increase in W.